Hi, my name is Megan Driver, and I am going to do a video reflection this week for my module. So, uh, when I started the module, my pre-reflection, I thought about what history was. And when I think about what history is, I think about events or people or places in the past, and what helps to form our present. As far as how to get interesting with teaching history in the classroom, I thought about possibly doing plays, reenactments in the classroom, videos, doing research studies on different topics, timelines, and possibly debates about cause and effects and things like that in the classroom. So, as far as what I thought and what I think now, um, personally, this is a module that's really syncing with what's going on with me in class right now. We are doing what's called a wax museum project in the third grade. So the students are required to choose a famous American and research this person. They will create a research paper, and from there they will create a speech and in turn dress like their person and create a wax museum. So as I'm walking around the classroom and my students have picked their people, which most of them had no clue who these famous Americans were, they go to start researching their people. And it was amazing to see how they struggled with the research process. I would take them to a site for them to go in and to find valuable information about their person that they chose, and they didn't know what to do with it. They would go on the Chromebooks and go on KidRex or go on Discovery Education, and they'd watch videos, or they would glance over these articles or biographies about their person and think that they were done, that their research was good, they could move on. And a lot of them, the first website they wanted to go to was Wikipedia, because that's what their parents told them to do. So definitely this module made me really think about not just teaching history in the classroom, but the concept of researching and understanding how to find out information about history, about famous people, about places, about things, events, and how they can learn more about them without having to go through sites that are not credible. So, the first article that really made me think long and hard about how students are getting their information and the sources that they're getting them from was, let me get my papers situated here. Okay. The blog post, Why We Need Humane Education, Kids and Adults Can't Tell Real from Fake News. And I see this all the time. I see adults when I'm having conversations with them, and the things that they say, I'm like, where did you hear that? How did you come up with this idea? And I'm realizing people really don't know the difference between scholarly articles and credible articles and just any old thing that they're finding on the internet. And this article was really interesting because it does say our young people spend a majority of their time with online media. And it said that 92% of teens go online daily. I know my students in my classroom go on the computers, go on their tablets, go on video games every single day. But when they're coming into the classroom and they're not able to use these tools in an educational way, then I feel like that's when we're creating an issue. And we have to teach them, yes, these tools can be used recreationally, but their main intended purpose is to learn and be educated from. So that was really interesting. And then it said that they use this media for up to 9 hours a day. That's absurd to me. These kids are in class, 6 to 7 hours a day, but then they're saying they're using online media for another up to 9 hours. Imagine if all that time was spent actually researching ideas and learning, and actually the articles they're reading were from credible sites. I mean, there would be no stopping them. But instead, they're using these tools and not necessarily using them the way they're intended. And that's our job as educators. And I'm realizing my job, if I want them to be better researchers, if I want them to understand history better, I have to teach them what I was taught, and that's how to go about researching. And I think when I was their age, I did not have the luxury of a Chromebook in the classroom. I had to go and get an encyclopedia out of the library or get books from the library to learn more about my topic. So I think that's definitely something we're really going to have to work harder at, is teaching these kids what sources to use and how to use them. And another article that discussed this was evaluating online sources, helping students determine trustworthiness, readability, and usefulness. By Mark Belden and Rindy Belden. And it discussed how it's hard to determine the difference in material online. Everything is made with ads. Nowadays, you go in and you start researching something, and it hones in to what your search history is. So it just starts popping up stuff that it thinks is relevant. So when kids are going on the computer, they're not knowing the difference between what's actual credible sources and just advertisements that are coming up, and making it seem a lot easier with the process. It was talking about how the actual internet sites can be challenging to read. I mean, even reading articles and stuff, it's broken up so much on a page between an ad here, a video here, another hyperlink here. So it's not concise while they're reading, and so their minds are going everywhere while they're trying to research this information. So that definitely got me thinking about how, when we let children research, we've got to just teach them these skills to move past some of these advertisements, to really focus on trustworthy articles. And a majority of the trustworthy articles are not going to have the amount of ads and other distracting items there when they're reading. So this module definitely got me thinking about how I was going to improve in my classroom, and things that I was going to use to teach them the difference in credible resources and non-credible resources. I actually this afternoon went and, since my students are doing the Famous Americans, and raided our library in this school and got as many books as I could for the students to use as sources for their papers as well. So I think not only just using the Chromebooks, we need to let them understand that books are still a hot commodity in the classroom as well. So in my activity this week, looking at research and looking at a history lab. I thought that was really cool. I decided to look at the history of racing and NASCAR in North Carolina, and how it's evolved and changed over the years. So that was really interesting. I'm not a huge NASCAR fan. I work in Welcome, North Carolina, so the Richard Childress Racing Museum is literally not a mile down the road, and all of my kids in my class are huge racing fans. So I thought this is something that's really interesting, and it has evolved over time, and it started out as something that was a necessity during the Prohibition era, and now is turned into quite a rich sport to a certain extent. So it was definitely interesting to look at those resources and see how things have changed in North Carolina. So I hope everyone has a great week. Thank you.